Welcome to Future Bank Today, a community dedicated to driving innovation in our financial institutions. This is your host, Jim Kittredge, and today's episode is on innovation and the complexity dilemma. I often wonder, why does everyone's IT systems look more like they were designed by Rube Goldberg and less like they were designed by knowledgeable technologists? I mean, if they actually tried, really tried to, could they make it any more complex? I doubt it. If there is one topic that takes place in every organization today, it is the need to innovate and the need to go faster, and to be more like a Google, an Apple, or a Facebook. So let's look at it. How do they do it? Do they have smarter technologists? Hardly. Do they have better technology? Unlikely. Do they work in nicer offices, one with open office space? Doubtful. What about all the free lunches they offer? Oh, never mind. Well, there are several reasons as to how they do it. The most important one is they live in a significantly less complex world than any financial institution. And complexity, by very definition, is the sand that grinds any well-built machine to an absolute halt. Complexity is, complex to truly understand and master, with its relationships to fractals and laws of thermodynamics and laws of entropy. But for today, we're going to keep it practical and define it simply as the complexity of any system equals its diversity times volume. In manufacturing, one could have highly diverse products, such as an artist would, and correspondingly a very low volume, and this would still be considered a low complexity system. Or you could have the opposite and produce a low complexity system, one with low diversity and high volume. A good example of that would be the production of the Model T Ford. On the other hand, high complexity systems manufacture both high diversity and high volume products. High complexity systems, by their very nature, are difficult to manage, let alone actually change. In fact, about the only way you can add new features or new products in a high complexity system is to add new systems on top of the existing ones, which of course only makes the systems even more complex and the next change even more difficult. I'm astounded at how few senior executives actually understand this concept. And I have a theory as to why, and it goes to something like this. Most executives fail to understand that they are primarily a high-volume manufacturing business, and that their manufacturing plants are its IT systems. And although they've been told, albeit erroneously by numerous vendors and IT executives, that changes to their manufacturing plant floor is easy, the reality is changing existing technology systems is at least as difficult, if not more so, than changing the production line in a car manufacturing plant. And while most bankers are reluctant to admit it, in today's world, a bank of any type is primarily a software manufacturing company at its heart. That's just plain and simple. And that software is built and run by its technology team, much like the way GM or Ford is a manufacturing company with its production line. So what does this have to do with innovation? Let's go back to the Google, Apple, and Facebooks, and let's look at what are their real advantages to being innovative and fast to market. First, they have a very limited product set. Second, they absolutely know they are a software manufacturing company and focus primarily on that aspect. They don't outsource the development of their core products to low-cost providers, and those core products never enter a state of entropy. That is, they are continuously invested and improved on, even if the customer cannot see those improvements readily. And lastly, and most importantly, they keep their environment on the low end of the complexity scale at all times, and they do this very consciously. How do they do this? Well, they do this by executing one key process that every bank lacks. They kill, remove, quit, cancel any product or function that is not meeting their current expectations, and therefore acknowledging that keeping that product in their systems would result in added complexity. Therefore, they choose to kill it instead. If one were to look at the Google graveyard, and did you know there's actually websites dedicated to that? You would see dozens of products, some with a lifespan of 3 months, some with a lifespan of 10 years. All of these are the ones that Google has dropped. I don't mean they stopped investing in them. I mean they literally just shut them off. And they all had real customers actively using them. Yet Google believed they were no longer strategic in their vision, so they dropped them totally. Now let's compare that to the thousands of products that are offered by the average bank. Have you ever heard of a bank just shutting off a product? One with actual customers on it? Well, in my experience, I never had. Heck, I know of tons of examples where banks that support products that are 5, 10, even 20 years after they stopped offering them. I'm sure that they have some small revenue stream associated with them, and I'm definitely sure there's some product manager still getting paid for it. But these orphans are the key to the complexity issue that exists in all banks. And that is what really gums up the innovation gears. And when you combine that with all of the instances where IT deploys new technology but fails to replace the old ones, and you quickly can see how complexity creeps into any environment. As an example, I have seen new data warehouses being deployed to replace the previous generation data warehouse, which replaced the one before that, and that replaced the original data warehouse built almost 15 years prior. Of course, they lack the resources, that is the time, dollars, and focus, to actually sunset any of the previous generations. So now they're running not one data warehouse, but 4 of them, all in production, all upping the complexity for the whole enterprise. You can easily see how quickly this all becomes a Rube Goldberg exercise in system design. Now compare that to the speed and agility of a fintech startup. There, they have a single product, they have no legacy systems, they have no legacy products. In fact, they have a complete blank slate in which to start from. They operate in a perfect low complexity environment. And does anyone wonder why they can move so quickly? I don't think they should. So what's the bottom line of all this? Until you address the root cause of high complexity in your organization, you will remain vulnerable to disruption by organizations that have a much lower level of complexity. This cannot be solved by IT alone, as it is only 50% of the problem, as obsolete or poor performing products and services need to be eliminated for the health of the company in addition to the systems. Every company espouses the mantra, "We need to simplify." It's time we progress beyond that and focus on the root causes of our complexity. Next week, we will take a look at what steps we could take to help reduce complexity and improve our time to market delivery on innovative services and offerings, with a discussion called Innovation and the Failure of Enterprise Architecture. Thank you for your time today.